So I'm here in San Francisco. Here we're filming on the GH5. You can see the quality, the amazing quality. This is potentially maybe the best camera in the world. And we're filming on Serge Broslavsky's setup. And I'm going to start my camera right now, my little Sony, and I'm going to interview him about this setup. But right now you're seeing the quality. Okay, this hopefully has you're doing everything in manual, I think, right now. So and there's a whole setup. Let's do the interview about this because it looks awesome. Okay, let me start my camera right here. All right, cool. So, hi. All right, cool. So, hi. So, who are you?
Hi, I'm Serge Broslavsky. I'm working full in Aro, but this is not relevant mostly for what I do here. I made
So you're like an engineer in the Linux, in the open source community?
I'm a project
software?
manager. Actually, I'm handling several projects in Linaro, mostly around kernel. And my work is to help all the engineers we have doing their magic, delivering all the complicated features that are nowadays being added into the kernel.
And they're right there, and you're actually thinking of, with your amazing GH5 setup, you're thinking to do a documentary, right?
Yes, that's my
Right here at
plan,
this
but
conference.
it's a bit too early to talk about things I'm planning. But as soon as I have something to show, I will just do that. I prefer not to talk before I do.
The GH5, what do you think about it? I've seen you commenting in a few videos and a few places. There's craft show, there's Photo Joseph, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where else are you hanging out and checking all these things?
Well, there are several Russian forums where people are talking about cameras and shooting video, and I also hang there. And mostly it's those two channels you mentioned, Photo Joseph and Craft Show.
Photo Joseph is pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Every day he's doing
Yeah.
a live stream.
Right.
And the craft show, they're doing an amazing anamorphic 6K, supported by Panasonic. They did some amazing cool stuff.
They had a benefit of having access to 2.0 firmware before it gets.
For anamorphic specifically, right?
Yeah. And also HDR.
6K.
Yeah.
So this is a 6K camera right here.
Not yet.
Are you happy
Not
about
yet.
that?
At the moment, it is only 6K photo, but actually 6K photo mode is a video mode, which is 30 frames per second. And then afterwards, after you record that, you can pick a few frames and save them as JPEGs, so, which is neat.
So you have something cool going on here. You have a, what do you have here? Where do you put it?
Speaking about my setup, besides the camera itself, which is GH5, and the lens, which is 12 to 35 f2.8 second version.
Why do you choose this lens? Because it has a constant.
Yeah, I prefer to use constant aperture. That gives me more freedom. Because when you are shooting video, sometimes you don't have time to think about adjusting your exposure. Then the second thing here, which I'm using, it's let me get it lower a bit to make it easier for you to shoot it.
Yeah.
So it's the standard H5. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Zoom H5
Yeah.
with standard zoom
So
stereo
this
shotgun.
attaches in the front.
Yeah, this is a stereo shotgun capsule.
So
I need to turn it
the
up.
basic mic is like this, and then
So it's a replaceable capsule, which can be detached and replaced with, for instance, XY microphone setup.
yeah.
And there are different capsules. They are selling those.
This is their system, their proprietary connector right there.
Yes.
So this is a special kind of shotgun. Can you
yes,
show
and
how it is?
actually I can show it to you without the. So this is a stereo. Actually, this is an MS microphone, so middle and side.
So this takes middle.
This is a mono shotgun part, and this is a sort of side capsule, which takes the sort of
Left and right.
the side channel, which you can then in post mix to get your stereo picture as wide as you like. Plus, it can be pre-mixed here, and that's what I'm doing when I'm recording. Then the sound actually pre-mixed sound from here. It goes down to camera and is recorded together with the video. That is for the case when I don't want to readjust the sound in post, but if I want, I can do that. Plus, besides this shotgun, I'm also using a dual-headed lav, wired lav setup for interviews.
Right there in the XLR.
Yeah, right to the XLR with a DIY style
You made this cable.
connector. Yeah, it's not a rocket science.
It's just connecting a stereo to two XLR.
Yeah, splitting stereo into two channels, two mono channels, which go here. And this GH5 is capable of recording 4 channels at the same time, so I can record the shotgun stereo image and 2 channels from XLRs.
All right.
Then-
And then you can do all the post-production if you want on this sound, right? You get all the... if potentially you can take each of the 4-track sound later and adjust the levels, choose which one you want.
And choose which one I would prefer to use, and yeah, mix them the way I like. And if I don't need the stereo picture from this microphone, I can use just the left channel, which will be a mono shotgun. So it's like 2 microphones in one, which is nice.
Nice.
Then,
And,
speaking about the setup, the rest of the setup. So
what is all this stuff going on there?
yeah, so basically everything is based on this rather long Arca Swiss style quick release plate, which has a couple of how do they call it? Magic arms attached to it. One on the front, which is holding the recorder on top, like a combination of a short one
So
and
you don't
a
even
long
need
one.
to put it right on top of the camera.
I prefer not to put heavy things into the hot shoe because it can be broken off pretty easily. I mean, it's quite sturdy, but if you apply enough force,
But
and that
then with this,
happens.
you can adjust where you put it. You can
Yeah,
put it
yeah, yeah,
higher,
exactly.
lower.
And
more
then I
front.
have an optional, like, second arm attached here, which is for the light, which I don't use always, but currently I have it on just to show you the full setup.
And how does this light powered?
And this light is actually powered by Sony style, what was the name, LPF or LPN? I don't remember exactly what is the name of that battery. But in my case, I'm using an adapter, which is in fact hosting 6 AA batteries,
Nice.
rechargeable batteries, which is much cheaper compared to the traditional
Is
batteries.
capacity the same as one of the big ones like this, you think?
Not the biggest one, but comparable with the
Medium.
medium one. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, the monopod I have here is also from Aliexpress. Yeah, everything besides the camera and the recorder is from Aliexpress. So it's
So-
pretty cheap and quite good quality.
What is this IR
It's InnoRail.
InnoRail?
Yeah, they are working on tripods, monopods, heads, and all that stuff.
Is it Chinese?
Yeah, this is a Chinese company. I like their quality.
And the light?
And the light is from
Yongnu. Yongnu.
Yongnu, yeah.
It's
Also
open
from
source,
AliExpress.
right? GNU.
Well,
nothing to do
no,
with
not the case. Not the case, yeah.
Okay.
Also pretty cheap. I think it was like $30, the light itself. So I would say that
How much is the monopod?
the monopod was about, I think, $60, and the head is also about $30.
And all shipped to your home in Latvia?
Yeah, for free.
Latvia shipping everything.
For free.
So are you the main GH5 user in Latvia, do you think?
Well, to be honest, when there was a release of GH5, there were only 3 cameras and 1 kit with the 12 to 60 lens brought to Latvia, and I witnessed at least one other user of GH5 getting his camera while I was getting mine.
At the same time.
So it's like a very small club
There's
of
a little camera
GH5.
store?
Yeah, there is
Riga?
a company which is like a professional photo and video equipment. And they were the ones who were bringing GH5
In Riga?
when it got released. Yeah, yeah.
Is that where you live, in Riga?
Yes.
So Riga is beautiful, right?
Yeah,
You can
Riga is
do lots
beautiful.
of beautiful videos over there.
That's right. But you know, when you spend all your life in a city, you don't really see things anymore.
Okay.
Just because it's your home location. While you go here and you see all this beauty, there is a plane there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you start seeing things.
But people who live here, they don't like it. Maybe I'm joking. But
Yeah.
how about if we lift this again a little bit? So what do you think about this GH5 camera? Do you think it's the best thing that ever came out? Like best camera right now?
So, for the moment, for this price, this is the best camera, and the best part of it is that it got one update already, which brought some new features, and there is an upcoming update which will bring much more features which are not available on the market at the moment.
I keep saying I'm praying that it fixes autofocus. I'm really hoping that would be fantastic. That's one of the things I'm looking for. But what are you looking for in the firmware 2.0?
Well,
I mean,
the-
fixes like for my kind of handheld stuff.
the biggest thing for me
You
there,
do manual, right?
yeah, I prefer to shoot manual exposure, manual focus. But the biggest thing for me there would be the open gate mode. Basically, when you get the full sensor captured into video, which I think they are calling it 6K anamorphic, which is more like 5.1K, but still it's plenty of pixels to cut.
Craft
Right?
said it was like 10K. I don't know.
When you shoot anamorphic and then you de-squeeze it, you will get 10K effectively.
10K letterbox, 10K,
Yeah,
right?
after de-squeezing.
Yeah.
But the open gate mode is 5.1K, which is a lot. For this
There's
price
also
tag.
4K anamorphic quality.
Yeah, yeah.
So that they will, and will now they can de-squeeze or squeeze what's called on the LCD, so you see things in the right proportions.
Yeah,
But
as soon as we
planning-
get new firmware,
might be interested to get an anamorphic lens.
I would say the best approach of using anamorphic lenses is to rent them, because any good anamorphic lens costs a fortune.
Are you gonna get the
Really?
$75,000 one from the Craft Show was using?
Not planning.
Not planning?
And actually, even they then didn't buy it; they just
Yeah.
rented it,
Yeah,
which makes sense.
but I'm sure there's gonna be an amazing Lumix, and maybe not. But I think it would be cool if somehow Panasonic find some way to make a Lumix affordable anamorphic lens, or like high quality, but all in one, like this size or a little bit bigger. $499. Okay, maybe that's not possible.
Well, I would say if they do that, the price tag would be probably closer to $2K, but it will be still significantly less compared to what we have on the market at the moment. And given the fact that they are putting a lot of effort into quality of the lenses, it should be good quality. But to be honest, I haven't heard anything about that, any plans in that regard. So I personally doubt that will happen. But if that happens, it will be a nice surprise for all the indie filmmakers.
Have you played around with the 10-bit and all the color grading stuff and stuff like that?
Yes, of course. And I also have Vlog enabled here. So sometimes I'm shooting Vlog when conditions are, let's say, complicated. But the problem I have is that I'm a Linux-based person, so I'm not using Windows.
You edit everything, you color grade on Linux.
Yes.
How?
And I'm using Blender. That's a 3D modeling tool, an open, free 3D modeling tool, which has NLE, nonlinear editor, built in. And it helps. The only problem that exists there is that 10-bit support is not there. So I cannot import 10-bit video and get 10 bits inside of Blender. But the problem is not the Blender itself, but the import. So if I want to work on 10-bit, I have to first convert my video, 10-bit video, into a set of images. Import that, I will get 10-bit edited, then export a set of images, and then convert that into video, 10-bit video, if I want to target 10 bits, using FFmpeg, which is a great tool also.
Maybe Linaro can fix that. It's open source, right?
Well, I would say that Linaro is
Doesn't
more
work on
focusing.
apps.
Linaro is more focusing on enabling features, enabling technologies, rather than bringing some user space, goodies.
Goodies.
Yeah, but we're letting others doing that.
Maybe somebody here in the Silicon Valley, like Adobe or somebody, should help them.
Well, actually,
It's free, open source.
What's good about open source? Anybody can do that, including yourself. Why don't you go home and try to contribute?
I'm going to try to ask somebody in San Francisco to fix it. It's just over there.
I'm relying on you there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so there's 10-bit, there's 4K 60. Do you use that? Do you do slow motion stuff?
Yeah,
Or
sometimes
do you
I'm
use
doing
it?
slow motion, but unfortunately, it's not for free. I mean, as soon as you go higher than 60p in VFR mode, the quality of the video degrades a bit. So, plus, the higher is the frame rate, the more light you need to have, because otherwise it gets grainy.
Cool. Awesome. So otherwise it's kind of like a perfect camera. Or
Yeah, it is for me, definitely.
Micro Four Thirds is cool. You wouldn't have thought that maybe low light is not as good as it could be.
Well, first of all, what are the benefits of 4/3? This weighs probably some, I don't know, 5 kilos, which is not realistic for full frame at all. And having an equivalent of the feature-wise from like video camera world would mean that the whole setup would not be able to be fit into one bag, which I have there, just one bag.
Yeah,
There is my
a
laptop
small bag.
there. Yeah, a small bag, my laptop, and the whole setup,
And even the pods and everything.
except the monopod
Except the
and the
pod.
head. Yeah, it doesn't fit. It's too long. So it's a great setup. I'm not looking for anything else. I'm just relying on Panasonic delivering new features with software upgrades. So yeah.
And maybe that Micro Four Thirds sensor allowed them to be in the forefront of technology, because if it was a bigger sensor, they wouldn't be able maybe to process so many things. That's maybe why Sony is not able to do 4K 60, because they have a bigger sensor. They can't just process so much stuff off the sensor, maybe.
Well, to be honest, the biggest benefit of a small sensor is the size of the system. It's not about getting some better picture because your sensor is smaller. It's about having more opportunities to reach some places probably with a lightweight setup. So
What's the CPU in there? What do you think? Because this Venus engine is an FPGA.
well, I have
It's
I have no technical details, like really technical details, but according to my understanding, it's a multi-core system. What is the instruction set? No idea. I'm not one of those who is hacking on cameras.
Is
I
it
prefer
running
to
Linux?
use it. I doubt it. Probably it has some real-time OS, because that's what is needed there.
There's got to be some ARM chip working at the same time on this. This Venus has probably ARM together
Possibly.
with a bunch of
Possibly to control.
something.
Well, to control the system, maybe they use some ARM cores.
running the Wi-Fi, running the
Yeah.
power
The
consumption, UI,
Yeah.
display,
Yeah.
sound.
And then some really heavy, data crunching cores.
Which can encode H.265 in real time at 6K, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like most
And-
things can't record H.265 in full HD in real time. This can
Yeah.
do 6K.
Yeah, which is upcoming. And actually, according to what I saw in the schedule for the Joseph, he will have a live firmware update installation on 30th of September, which is basically end of the month.
I
Few
hope,
days away.
I hope during the live stream he doesn't break his camera.
Well, he never did that, so
That would
it should
be
work.
funny.
It should work. Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Let's see. Let's
No,
see.
that
Let's
would
just
be-
join
that
that
would not
and,
be
and
funny.
see how he does that.
And the GH6 is going to do 8K, right? Are you going to upgrade?
Let's see.
You're gonna see.
Let's see.
A couple years could go, right? It's not an urgent thing.
I'm really hoping that there will be another firmware update bringing new features. And actually, I've set up what is it called? A petition to Panasonic about getting high bitrate not OLI, but IPB mode
That'd
into
be cool.
GH5. Yeah, that would be cool.
So you want to have a long gap, high bitrate.
Long gap, high bitrate, like Full HD 200 megabits and 4K 400 megabits. But let's see. Maybe when I try what they're bringing in with this new feature set, not OLI, but the H25 265.
Yeah.
Maybe that will satisfy my needs.
I hope so too. I'm very excited that it does 4K H265 with HLG in one file at 72 megabit. I just wish they could do 4K 60 with HLG, but potentially it can, because isn't HLG is kind of like a log, right? It's just some kind of a thing they do. It's not like a huge work maybe on the processor.
I would say that I'm not qualified enough to talk about that area. Let's
some guessing
craft
stuff.
show guys working on that.
Yeah,
they're doing great there.
Yeah, hopefully they have time to do lots more videos, right?
Yeah, they do.
To show this stuff. And do you know if the GH3 and maybe GH4 they had these hacking firmwares? Were they able to get high bitrate long gap? I don't know if they did that. They had some high bitrate stuff.
I think there is a limit of CPU power there, which is limiting basically.
Because doing a long gap is more intensive than just doing an OLI.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
In the encode, because the decode.
Intra-frame encoding is much more CPU intensive, because the camera will need to find all the moving parts between the frames and encode them properly, and that is very CPU and memory intensive.
And but one can think. I'm keep thinking that if this can do an amazing 6K stuff, 18 megapixel video at 30 frames per second, it should be able to do a whole bunch of stuff that whatever you want in 4K, it should just be able to do it. Even long gap 400 megabit, it should be able to do it.
Maybe.
Even 4K 60 HLG, it should be able to do it. Because they do 6K H265.
Maybe.
So that means it has basically unlimited processing power.
Potentially. But there is one thing. First of all, this camera has a thermal envelope, which cannot be exceeded.
Sorry, we speak too much.
Yeah. And because of that, there is a limit. Even if we have enough CPU power, we might cross the thermal envelope when we go that high.
Interesting. Have you ever felt it get hot?
It's getting warmer, but never gets hot, really. The climate in Latvia is not that hot.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason, but I had no problems with that. And I heard no reports from people having that problem.
This is not a Sony.
No.
Yeah, they have some issues. It's sad a little bit.
Yeah.
That you would have a camera that does 4K, but actually it stops after 5-10 minutes.
Right.
Cool. What is this sensor right here?
This is actually a light for focusing.
Ooh,
so
that helps the focusing stuff.
When it's dark, you can enable it. I have it disabled. It will highlight your subject to help focusing.
Is some kind of IR? No.
No. It's just red light.
Just a little light.
Yeah.
How about the autofocus? Seems perfect. I mean, great right now with the current firmware on when you take photo or before you shoot the video, right?
Yeah.
That seems perfect. But when it records the video, it keeps to be lagging, especially in 24, which what you use, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully, if they can do that before you record, hopefully the processor is fast enough to keep doing that while you record. That's the only thing I'm hoping.
You know, having an engineering background myself, I can guess that there are lots of limitations when somebody's working on software, like embedded software. So I wouldn't say that it's not possible to be done, but I cannot say that it can be done definitely. I'll let Panasonic working on that, and they apparently did work on that, and there will be some update in the new firmware.
probably
So
have
let's
some-
wait and try.
They probably have some pretty cool engineers. But one thing that I'm thinking, without knowing how things work, that maybe if they fix a bunch of stuff, then maybe it starts another issue somewhere else in the firmware. They have to make sure that by fixing autofocus doesn't start doing another issue somewhere else. Maybe it overheats. That would be the worst thing if the camera start overheating.
Yeah,
then that would be like a recall issue
But
maybe.
let's focus on good things that are
Yeah.
being brought.
Cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Looking forward to see your documentaries on upstreaming and all the other ideas you will do in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Awesome.